Hey, so I wanted to talk a bit about some cringe logic that people have used. Um, and some arguments that I've been in that I've just been thinking about the past couple of days. So a while back on Twitter, I got into an argument about the BC, BCE, ADCE thing. And I was like, well, I'm not a Christian, but I believe we should use BC and AD because that's the system that the Gregorian calendar was founded on. That's the system that the scientists who use BCE and CE use. They just don't give proper credit for the system, which is why they remove the labels, the original labels. And there was someone who argued against me. Well, he didn't really argue against my points. He just brought up irrelevancies that uh, are like fedora tipping atheist gotchas. Not really gotchas. They're very dumb. So he was like, the probability that that Christ actually existed is very low, and it's like, well, that's not true. First off, but second off, does it really matter? Even if it wasn't true, even if it was true, because this is the date that was set by the people who made the calendar for this person's birth. And then he was like, well, they got the date like 4 years off. And it's like, okay, but that's the date they got, and that's for the time, for the tools that they had, that was very close. And it's still the date they got. It's still the date that you use. You just don't give them credit for it. What is it called when you use someone else's work without giving proper credit? It's called plagiarism. So the BCE CE system is identical to the Gregorian calendar. It's just that it doesn't give proper credit, and it is plagiarizing because of that. But and after I said that, he finally just silenced. But he brought up all these irrelevancies as if they were some sort of gotcha, and it was very cringe. I actively told him, "Sir, get off Reddit, because that's just Reddit logic. It's uh, you know." It's okay to be anti-Christian, I suppose, but you don't have to be a dumbass about it. Um, then a couple weeks ago, got into an argument about slavery, and well, someone commented on a post. The post was like, "Look at how recent slavery in the U.S. ended." And segregation and all that. And someone in the comments was like, well, what about the Barbary slave trade and all the Europeans that were taken as slaves? And they also brought up all the white people who died fighting against slavery. And someone else responded to them saying that, oh, that's just virtue signaling. And I was like, how is bringing up the good that people did virtue signaling? Like, you're trying to demonize all of a certain group, and that certain group did good things, so bringing up the good things that they did in order to counter the demonization, how is that virtue signaling? That's just offering a more clear and wholesome view. And this person then brought up all these different facts and started making value statements that were completely disconnected. Like, okay, the Barbary slave trade wasn't the only slave trade at the time. The Barbary slave trade did not last as long as the transatlantic slave trade. and it wasn't centralized. Okay, now how does that make it less bad? Because the lack of centralization actually does make it worse. The Muslims who carried out the barbarous slave trade were very brutal, and they didn't have oversight. They were much worse than the Europeans were. And this person made these value claims about it wasn't as bad, and it is virtue signaling. Saying that it is virtue signaling, it is just virtue signaling, is devaluing the statement. So it is a value statement. So this person was doing all that, but they were just throwing out these factoids without providing an explanation of how they connect to the value statements. And when I offered an explanation saying that, yeah, the decentralization was actually part of why it was worse, and it just counteracts the negativity of the post, and therefore is not virtue signaling, they were like, "Oh, you just don't understand logic." It's like, you didn't offer any logic. So that was interesting. If you are going to make value statements, you need to connect them to your other points. Then on my last punk video, there was someone who, first off, I should have known from the get-go that something was wrong, because they made this big post about how punk was conservative. I'm not saying that punk is conservative or liberal or anything. I'm saying that punk is much more broad than that. And so I should have known something was off from the get-go. But at a certain point, and I can't tell if this person is trolling or is schizophrenic or what, because they seem serious, but they also edit their comments. So there was a comment that he left in that thread that I saw it about a half hour after he made it, but he edited it between when I saw it and 2 hours later. And what he edited it by saying was that the video covers high school logic, but botches it. And I asked, how was it botched? Then he said, well, there is no way that you can make an existential quantification statement about punk. Now, if you know what an existential quantification statement is, you know that I did not do that. I was actually arguing against that. People who make existential quantification statements about punk are the target of my video. I disagree with them, and I provided evidence as to why. Evidence and logic as to why. Then in the same comment, he contradicts himself and he gets convoluted about it too. But he contradicts himself by making an existential quantification statement about punk, saying that it is left-wing. He defends this by saying that it is natural language, which natural language is a bit of a misnomer. It's informal versus formal language. What he refers to by natural language is informal language. I would argue that all language is natural. I'm more of a Chomskyite in that regard. And so essentially I said, you contradicted yourself, and you're defending it by saying that informal language does not have logic apply to it. Even though we derive both formal language and logic from informal language. And just because you're using informal language doesn't mean you're not using logic. And these people are using logic. They're saying they're making an existential quantifier. But this person then accused me of being a cliche, being an idiot who doesn't understand logic. Dude, you are contradicting yourself. You are convoluted. You're not making any sense. Take your pills, man. Now, the last thing that I wanted to talk about was also on the punk video. I made a post about this, and I don't know how many people saw it. It's in my posts on YouTube. But someone said that I am illiterate. I am media illiterate, and I just make up meaning out of the nonsense in my head when it comes to the song Holiday in Cambodia by the Dead Kennedys. Now, Holiday in Cambodia, if you Google the meaning of the song, there's a lot of articles that come up, and even the AI will say this, but it is about college kids who are disconnected from reality and complaining about their lives, and he's saying that it's much worse in other parts of the world, and you need to, like, be grateful for how you live. Now, I remember seeing a clip on Instagram a while back of Jello, specifically Jello Biafra, the singer of the Dead Kennedys, the writer of Holiday in Cambodia. He specifically said that it is about college students who support communism. That's why he says it's a holiday in Cambodia. He's like, if you think your life is bad and you want communism so bad, it's a holiday in Cambodia. Now, if you understand the type of satire that the Dead Kennedys use, it's Juvenalian satire. It's not Horatian satire. Horatian satire is more complex. Juvenalian satire is like sarcasm. It's very much very simple and very straight to the point. So saying it's a holiday in Cambodia, it's not about, like, it's not this complex web of meaning about fake communism backed by the CIA to make communism look bad. It's saying, have a nice trip. Get out, or go look at something that fits the mold. That's what it's saying. It's very simple. So that's about all. Thank you for watching. Peace.